Forefront Radio. Welcome to the Forefront Radio. We're about to get started in just a bit, y'all. So we're going to talk about the Sabbath. Welcome, Colex. Hope you're doing all right. Welcome to everyone that's joining on in our conversations here on the Forefront Radio. We're going to get started in just a bit, y'all. So for those of y'all that have not been active, make sure y'all hit the heart button up there and reactivate your membership badge on here. Send a heart me, right, during the live, so that way your name could come up whenever you come in the room. All right. Let me get a couple of ones in the chat just to make sure the audio is good, and we'll get started in a bit, y'all. Let me get a couple of ones in the chat just to make sure the audio is good. All right, we got ones in the building. All right. Let's get started. Let me put my headphones on. Check. All right. Looks like everything is working well. Welcome to the Forefront Radio, y'all. Hope y'all love the background music that we have. I love cinematic music, so hopefully this will encourage you in the walk towards righteousness, building up your spirit as we get into these scriptures, y'all. Y'all know the Sabbath coming around soon, so I hope y'all can appreciate the class we're about to cover, which is going into the Sabbath day as well as the hidden writings known as the Book of Jubilees. We're starting off on a series going into the Book of Jubilees, y'all, so please participate in listening and showing your appreciation either by tapping the screen, getting the likes up, sharing the room with at least 10 people. That would be great. That would be phenomenal. All right, we're going to start off with Jubilees Chapter 2, and we're going to start at verse 1. All right, moderators, if you're in the chat, if you could do me a huge favor and place the scriptures in the chat, so that way anyone that's joining on can listen in and know exactly where we are. Okay, we are at Jubilees Chapter 2, verse 1. It says, And the angel of the presence spake to Moses according to the word of the Lord, saying, Write the complete history of creation, how in 6 days the Lord finished all his works and all that he created, and kept Sabbath on the seventh day, and hallowed it for all ages, and appointed it as a sign for all his works. Now, why is this important, y'all? This is important because in the Christian church, they make the ignoramus excuse to say that the Sabbath somehow only applies to Israelites. That's not true. Yes, the Sabbath was given as a covenant to the Israelites. However, when we read Jubilees, we have an understanding that the Sabbath itself was given to us from creation. And we can verify that in the book of Genesis chapter 2. Shalom to you. Hope you're doing all right, Yaku. So let's go to Genesis chapter 2 and let's verify what we're reading in Jubilees to see if it matches up. Okay. So we are at Genesis chapter 2. We're going to start at verse 1. It says, Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made. This sounds exactly like what we just read in Jubilees, y'all. This sounds exactly like what we just read in Jubilees. So we're reading here where God says, right, out of the Bible, that the heaven and the earth that was created, the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of it, meaning the sun, moon, stars, the galaxies, the nebulae, the black holes, everything that should exist in time and space and matter exists in the heavens and on earth. Now, let's consider this thing. Verse 2 says this, And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made. So now, can somebody write in the chat, what day of the week is the seventh day? Can somebody please write in the chat for me, what day of the week is the seventh day? Because for some strange reason, people are confused. What day of the week is the seventh day? Shalom to you, Jizzle. Hope you're doing all right. Can somebody let me know what day of the week is the seventh day? Is it Sunday? Is it Thursday? Or is it Saturday? I find it really interesting, right? Because when you examine various cultures all across the globe, they have a term for the seventh day. In Spanish, they call it sábado, which sounds exactly like Sabbath. We know that's the day called Saturday. In I think Creole, in Haitian Creole, they say Sabbat or jour de repos, which is day of rest. Jour meaning day, repos meaning rest, right? So why is it in the Christian community, although we have various cultures that know that the seventh day is the day that we call modern day Saturday, right? Why is it that Christians are not keeping that day, even though God gave it not just during the time of Moses, but he gave it at creation? Let's read it again in Jubilees Chapter 2, verse 1. And the angel of presence spake to Moses according to the word of the Lord, saying, write the complete history of the creation, how in 6 days the Lord finished all his works and all that he created, and kept Sabbath on the seventh day, and hallowed it for all ages, and appointed it as a sign for all his works. So the 7th-day Sabbath was appointed as a day that the Creator gave. Notice it doesn't say anything to do with the sun, moon, and stars, because someone will say, hey, forefront, we got to use the moon and the sun to try to figure out when the Sabbath comes around. There's a lot of weird doctrines coming out nowadays, y'all. There's a doctrine called the lunar Sabbath that came from a Eurocentric delusionalist that came out of prison. And this person instituted this lunar Sabbath that was adopted by Armstrong, right? And adopted in certain Seventh-day Adventist groups. And now they say we got to use the Sabbath and determine it based on the moon. That's incorrect. You have other individuals that say we should base our Sabbath on Thursdays. And every Thursday they say Thursday is the Sabbath. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not the seventh day. That's not the seventh day. We're reading out of the Bible and out of Jubilees what day is actually the seventh day. It's not Sunday. It's not Friday. It's Saturday. We know it's from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown, period. Shalom to you, CJ. Hope you're doing all right. Thank you for joining up on the Forefront Radio. Click the heart button up top. Click the heart button up top, folks. So why is it in the Christian community they worship on Sunday? It's because they follow the Roman Catholic Church, the very institution that their church leaders said was Antichrist. So the Lutheran Church, the Episcopalian Church, the Methodist Church, the Baptist Church, the Pentecostal Church, the non-denominational churches, all of them follow the tenets of the Catholic Church. They keep Sunday holy. They keep Christmas. They keep Easter. They keep St. Valentine's Day. Everything that the Creator said was pagan and wrong to do, they have embraced it and said it's holy and just and good. It don't work like that, y'all. Watch this. Genesis chapter 2, verse 2. And on the seventh day, not Sunday, and on the seventh day, not Thursday, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, meaning cleansed it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. So, when we read in the New Testament, when the Messiah said that he was Lord of the Sabbath, right? What does that imply? That tells us that the very God of creation, that was a part of creation to formulate man out of the dust of the ground, is the same one that formed the heavens and the earth, the sea, and everything that we see on the planet. That means Christ is the creator. You understand that? When Christ said, that the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath, that's telling you he was a part of creation. He was with the Father when they said, let us, plural, let us, more than one, make man in our image. Now, the smart person will say, wait a minute. I thought there was only one God. You have the Father, you have the Son of God, right? And they were a part of creation. Just because there's one God, one supreme deity, it doesn't mean that there's no other entities up there. I think that's what Christians get confused on. Because when they hear us say there's one God, they assume there's no angels up there. They assume there's no other entities up there. They get it incorrect. Watch this. Genesis chapter 2, verse 3. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he rested from all his work which God created and made. These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created, in the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens. Notice that there's more than one heaven. There's one earth, but there's more than one heaven. So now, let's go to Jubilees and let's get a basic rundown of how Genesis helps us to understand the observance of the Sabbaths, the distinctions of what he made during creation, the orders and observance of the Sabbath based on the highest angels, and how afterwards too. It says, for on the first day, he created the heavens which are above, and the earth and the waters, and all the spirits which serve before him. So wait a minute. That's telling us that somewhere in the celestial realm, there are spirits that are above the earth, there are spirits in the heavens, and there are spirits in the waters. Y'all understand that? The whole entire creation is living and moving. The earth has a spirit behind it. The sky has a spirit behind it. Watch this. We're going to prove it. Watch this. It says, which serve before him, the angels of the presence, the angels of sanctification, the angels of the spirit of fire, and the angels of the spirit of the winds. Wait a minute. Hold on a second, y'all. So there is an angel that controls fire. There is an angel that controls the wind. You ever go outside on a windy day and you start feeling the breeze on your face? Nobody stops to say, hey, what does that? What entity makes this wind go in any direction it wants to? The wind can go left, the wind could go right, it could go up, it could go down, it could form into a tornado, it could turn into a cloud. There are spirits that control that. There is a realm that we can't physically see, but we know it exists because you can feel the wind blowing on your face. Anything from a small gust and a small breeze to the strongest tornadoes and hurricanes. There's levels to that spiritual entity known as the wind. Same thing with fire. You can light a match and start a small flame and put it on a candle, or it could be a raging fire that scorches earth. You understand? Watch this. It says, he created the heavens which are above, and the earth and the waters, and all the spirits which serve before him, and the angels of the presence, and the angels of sanctification, and the angels of the spirit of fire, and the angels of the spirit of winds, and the angels of the spirit of the clouds, and of darkness, and of snow, and of hail, and of hoarfrost, and of the angels of the voices, and of the angels of thunder. So thunder is a voice. And of that of lightning, and the angels of the spirits of cold and heat, and of winter, and of spring, and of autumn, and of summer, and of all the spirits of his creatures, meaning creation, which are in the heavens and on the earth. He created the abysses and the darkness, eventide and night, and the light, dawn and day, which he has prepared in the knowledge of his heart. Y'all, you know what's significant about this thing? I'm wondering to myself, right, how these different entities interact, from snow to hail to hoarfrost to rain to clouds and darkness to lightning and thunder. These different entities and mechanisms, scientists try to grasp these things and they try to replicate it, but they can't. All they could do is try to manipulate the elements to try to recreate the situation, but they can't say, hey, let me open my hand and start a tornado just by opening my hand. They can't do that. They can't snap their fingers and say, let me light a match just by snapping my fingers. You understand? There are spiritual entities behind these things that we see in the physical realm, whether it's wind, whether it's fire, whether it's darkness, whether it's hail, whether it's snow. There are spirits that control the cycles and rhythms of these things that we see on the earth. You understand? The reason why I say that is because something has to control the mechanism of winter to summer to spring to autumn and change it on a repetitive cycle where it comes over and over and over nonstop in their order. Something controls that, like a clock, like clockwork. Y'all understand that? Let's read it again. For on the first day he created the heavens which are above. So everything that is above the earth, whether it's the firmament, the sky, the galaxies, what we call the universe, space, that's the heavens. Now we know there's different layers of heavens, like different layers of the atmosphere, and there's different layers of space, right? The farther you go up there, the colder it gets. That's odd. You would think that the higher you go up there, the warmer it would get because you would be closer to the sun. But no. So watch this. It says, the angels of the presence, meaning there are angels that stand directly in the presence of the Creator. The angels of sanctification. There are angels that are responsible for cleaning the heavens. Y'all understand? Cleansing what we see in the sky. Angels of sanctification. Then it says, and the angels of the spirit of fire and the angels of the spirit of the winds. So y'all see how sometimes in places like California, Canada, and other areas, you'll have where hail storms happen one day, and then another time you have fires raging through the forest. There are spirits that control it, y'all. You understand? Because no matter how many times they try to put water in it, they can't put the fire out. It seems like when they try to fight the fire, right, the water can't overpower the fire. There's a spirit behind that controlling that, y'all. Watch this. Let's go to Ecclesiasticus, also known as the Book of Sirach. Watch this. Let's go to Sirach, chapter 38. Let's read verse 28. It says, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. So when the Creator is irritated, when the Creator is mad, there are spirits that he has on the earth that are created just for vengeance. Watch this. Let's go to Psalm 78 verse 48 real quick. Let's go to Psalms 78 verse 48. Do me a favor, y'all, tap the screen, get the likes up, share the room with at least 10 people. Let's go to Psalm 78 verse 48. Psalm 78 verse 48 says this: he gave up their cattle also to the hail, and their flocks to hot thunderbolts. He cast upon them the fierceness of his wrath, anger, and indignation, and trouble by sending evil angels among them. Y'all see that? So the Creator has power over evil angels, just like he has power over good angels. Sometimes Those angels like Michael, like Gabriel, God wants them to enact vengeance on the earth. So when you see a tornado pop off, just know God is responsible. That's why in the news media, they want to call it quote unquote acts of God, because they're pissing him off. They're making him agitated with their wickedness. And he says, all right, sprinkle a little bit of hail over here, send a tornado over here, send a firestorm over here. There are angels that control these things, y'all. You understand? Perfect example. I remember seeing a video on the internet where they were showing this entity that was translucent, and people were trying to figure out what was going on with this. Guess what? There was going to be a missile strike, and the United States was going to send an ICBM to another country, and this entity, unknown entity, came up and literally zapped something into the controls, and they were able to literally stop. The whole entire system got shut down. You understand? There are spirits that control this stuff, y'all. You understand? Watch this. Let's go back. Let's go to Sirach 39, verse 28. It says, there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. Meaning what? When God is angry and upset, there's angels that appease his wrath by enacting his judgments on the earth. Watch this. Fire, that's a spirit, and hail, that's a spirit, and famine, that's a spirit, and deletion, that's a spirit. So people talk about how they saw the angel of death, quote unquote, right? That's a spirit behind it. Now, it's not like how they depict in modern day times on television, where people is in some entity is a cloak and skull and bone. No. Skull and bones and a cloak. That's Greek mythology. That's Greek mythology. But there is a spirit behind people passing away. Y'all understand that? Watch this. It says, fire and hail and famine and deletion, and all these were created for vengeance. Teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents, and the sword, punishing the wicked to destruction. Watch this. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 20. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 20. So these entities appease the wrath of God. Watch this. Let's start at verse 19. It says, he shall take holiness from an invincible shield. His severe wrath shall he sharpen for a sword, and the world shall fight with him against the unwise. Meaning what? The creator has entities, right? Spirits that assist him in punishing those that are unwise. Now, with that being said, what is wisdom according to the Bible? If God is going to punish the unwise, what is wisdom according to the Bible? Let's go to Deuteronomy. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 4. Watch this. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 4. Let's read verse 5 and 6. This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 5. It says, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that you should do so in the land whither you go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom, and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation, not religion, this great nation, not church, this great nation, meaning a people group known as the Israelites, is a wise and understanding people. So, what is wisdom according to what we just read in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 5 and 6? Can someone please write it in the chat for me? What is wisdom? What makes us wise? Please write it in the chat. For the 53 plus people that are in the room, let's see what the comment section says. What is our wisdom according to the scriptures? What is our wisdom? What gives us wisdom according to the Bible? We got 50 people in the room. Nobody wants to drop a comment on that? Read it again, please. Sure. This is Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 5. It says, "Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that you should do so in the land, whether you go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them." So let's read it again. "Behold, I have taught you statutes." What does the Bible say? "I have taught you statutes and judgments," meaning what? Commandments, right? Rules, regulation, guidelines, right? He has taught us guidelines of how to live, the rules of his house, the rules of his kingdom, his ordinances, his commandments, right? "I have taught you statutes and judgments." Now, what is judgments? Judgments are penalties for breaking God's laws. If you steal, you're going to have to pay back sevenfold. If you lie, you're going to have to pay back those you lied against, right? These are all judgments or penalties for a crime, right? "I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me." So Moses was instructed, give the children of Israel laws, statutes, commandments, ordinances, judgments. Everybody understand that? Then he says in verse 6, "Keep therefore," yes, following the statutes and commandments. Correct. That's the answer I was looking for. "Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding." So what is our wisdom? There we go. Obedience to God's laws. That's what gives us wisdom. For example, honor your mother and father gives you wisdom, because when you listen to your parents when they told you, don't run in the middle of the street at 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. You realize if you went out into the street during the highway in heavy traffic, you could possibly injure yourself, right? So that gives us wisdom on how to protect ourselves and give us a long life. Rob says, "Would it be proper and righteous application of the Most High's word?" That is correct. That is correct. Our wisdom comes directly from obedience to the Creator's word. So now, with that understanding, let me get a 144 minute chat just to make sure everybody understands that. If you're confused, put a 222 just to make sure I know what people understand based on what we're reading here. Hack says, "I see." Good. We got thumbs up in the building. We got 144. Okay, we got 144. Excellent. So now, with that understanding, let's go back now to Wisdom of Solomon and let's get something clear. So watch this. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 19. It says, "He shall take holiness for an invincible shield." Meaning, when you start applying the commandments of the Creator, it becomes a shield to protect you from lawless behavior, from wickedness, and evil angels. Okay? Watch this. Verse 20. "His severe wrath shall he sharpen for a sword, and the world shall fight with him against the unwise." So now, if wisdom is applying the commandments of the Creator, what is being unwise? Somebody write it in the chat, please. If wisdom is application of the laws, statutes, and commandments, what is being unwise? What does that mean? Disobedience. Ding, 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 ding. You cooking with fire. Disobeying. Correct. Excellent. Now, let's show you something in the New Testament. Let's go to Ephesians chapter 5. I'm going to show you something that modern day churches have not figured out yet. Watch this. Let's go to Ephesians chapter 5. Let's start at verse 5. It says, "For this you know, that no whoremonger, nor unclean person, nor covetous man, who is an idolater, have any inheritance in the kingdom of Christ and of God. Let no man deceive you with vain words, for because of these things comes the wrath of God upon the children of disobedience." Disobedience. So, what has the church taught us incorrectly on? They said God's laws are done away with. They said you don't have to apply the laws of God. They said all you need is faith in Christ and that's it. They're incorrect. They are literally the children of disobedience. Y'all understand that? Correct. The once saved, always saved doctrine, the evangelical dispensationalism type of mindset, the call it grace and spit in God's face mindset, right? They continue in lawless behavior. They have statements like, can't nobody be perfect? They're talking about leading us into a burning house. Exactly. Exactly. So if the New Testament is telling us that the wrath of God is going to be on the children of disobedience, that's who the unwise are. Now let's go back to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, and let's understand why we're currently seeing various things take place that are unexplainable in Western society, like drought, like famine, like fires, like hail. I'm going to make a prediction. You will see, mark my words, you will see in your lifetime the plagues of God before your eyes. I guarantee you, because I already made predictions about it and we read it out of the Bible and I see it. You're going to see an increase of floods. You're going to see an increase of storm activity. You're going to see hailstones that are very big, huge hailstorms. You're going to see thunderbolts hit different areas where they said, oh, wait a minute. It doesn't normally thunderstorm over here this bad. Tornadoes ravaging cities, tsunamis. I'm telling you, you're going to see it in your lifetime. Now we're going to read it. Watch this. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 20. His severe wrath shall he sharpen for a sword, meaning correct. 100-pound hailstones. You're going to see it. You understand? They already decide the golf balls. They already decide the softballs. You could look this up. I can't remember the year, but there was a time where a freak hailstorm came through Juarez, Texas, and the hail was so significant that it was all the way up to the height of the truck of a semi. The front end of a semi truck. That's how high the hail was in the middle of the summer, in either June or July. This happened. You can look it up. Matter of fact, I'll look it up for you. I know folks don't like to they hear information like, oh, friend, is that true? I can't believe it. Let's look it up. Juarez. Let's look it up. Let me give you the exact news article. Juarez, Mexico. Hailstorm. Let's see if we can look this up here. News. Okay. 2022. Okay. Is this the article I'm looking for? It's talking about intense flooding. One moment. I want to find this exact news story that I saw a while back because I want to read it to you. Is it from two? Let's see if it's because the article is called A Hail of a Night. Let me see if this is it. Okay, let's read this article. Okay, watch this. This is from 2022. Listen close. The article is entitled A Hail of a Night in Mexico. It was written by the author named Humberto Basilio, and it reads, when a severe hailstorm hit Mexico's capital last week, citizens began to wonder whether climate change could be the cause. Now, we call it the judgments of God. They call it climate change, right? Watch this. It says, the sudden crash of hail hit Hector Durante's balcony on the night of The 12th of June, there we go. The 12th of June made him quickly look out his window in the Benito Juarez municipality on the western side of Mexico City. Hundreds of leaves were falling from the trees to the ground, which were covered in what appeared to be a blanket of snow. Wow. So in the middle of June, there was a blanket of snow. Let me say it again for the kids in the back. In the middle of June, there was a blanket of snow. You mean to tell me during summertime forefront, there were spirits of angels that can create hailstorms strong enough where the heat of the sun could not impact it? Don't tell me there ain't no God, y'all. Wow. Don't tell me there's no God. When literally in the middle of June, they saw a blanket of snow. Hello. You understand? One of the pastors said, "We are the generation who will experience the tribulation." Okay, your pastor lied to you. Your pastor lied to you. Here's why. Your pastor didn't tell you the great tribulation relates to the children of Israel. Okay, because not Moses. Christ was speaking directly to his disciples when he was telling them what the great tribulation was. It's not a 7-year trib like they teach in the pre-tribulation rapture people that's going around crazy on TikTok. That's not what the tribulation is. The tribulation is something completely different than what preachers say in today's media. Let me just leave it at that. So we have a blanket of snow in the middle of June. Minutes after the downpour, the phone rang. "Are you okay?" the neighbor asked. The hail had done more than carpet the ground. The supermarket just collapsed. Wow. The storm was so bad that the roof, y'all, let's read it. Durantes left his home immediately, but as soon as he took his first step onto the street, he sank his foot into a 20-centimeter layer of marble-sized hail. Wow. Wow. As he approached the nearby shopping complex, the honks of stopped traffic and the sirens of ambulances and the fire trucks kept blaring. When he arrived on the scene, it stunned him. It was a disaster, he said. Approximately 20 metric tons. Y'all hear that? Tons. 20 metric tons of hail collapsed the 1,000 square meter roof of the local supermarket. Y'all, that's amazing. That's amazing. Now, didn't we just read about angels that had the power over hail? Didn't we just read that? Did we not just read that? Let's read it in the Bible again. Watch this. Sirach chapter 39, verse 28. There be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. So who is that fury fallen upon? The children of disobedience. Then it says in verse 29, no, let's read on. Which in their fury lay on sore strokes. In the time of destruction, they pour out their force and appease the wrath of him that made them. Fire and hail. And hail. So y'all see the Bible is a true book, y'all. Do you see that the Bible is a true book, y'all? Wow. Wow. Let's go back to what we read in Wisdom of Solomon. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 20. It says, his severe wrath shall sharpen for a sword, and the world shall fight with him against the unrise. Meaning what? Christ is going to use the elements to enact his plagues on the children of disobedience. I hope that makes sense. Watch this. Verse 21. Then shall the right aiming thunderbolts go abroad, and from the clouds, as from a well-drawn bow, shall they fly to the mark. So, when you hear stories of, oh, such and such was walking down the street, and you know how they say lightning doesn't strike twice, right? That's a lie. They walked down the street, got hit by the lightning, got back up, survived that, went a couple of further steps down the road, and got struck again. So when the Bible says that it's like a well-drawn bow, imagine an archer, right, with bow and arrow, shooting his arrow towards a certain target. This is the same thing with a cloud in the sky and the Spirit saying, strike that car right there, strike that tree right there, strike that cow, strike that house. You understand? There are spirits that the Creator has power over that control lightning, y'all, that control storms. Watch this. Verse 22, and hailstones full of wrath shall be cast out of a stone bow, and the water of the sea shall rage against them. So this is going into hailstorms and tsunamis and floods. And the flood shall cruelly drown them. Yea, a mighty wind shall stand up against them, and like a storm shall blow them away. Thus iniquity, meaning sin, shall lay waste the whole earth, and ill dealing shall overthrow the thrones of the mighty. So now, consider the mighty kingdoms that are on this earth today. Consider the United States. Consider NATO. Consider the military apparatuses all across the planet. Consider Space Force. Consider the Marines. Consider the EU. Consider the UAE. Consider these nations that have dominion over the earth. God says iniquity, meaning lawlessness will lay waste the whole earth. They're seeing how their nation does not conduct themselves properly. You understand? And because of that, God sends these divine judgments in order to enact his will on the earth. If folks don't want to get right, that's telling you that their spirit's just waiting. They're waiting for God to say, activate. You understand? I hope y'all get that. All right. With that being said, let's go back to Jubilees, because we're talking about the spirits of creation and how they were made. Now we're going to get deeper into this conversation. Jubilees chapter 2. Let's start now at verse 3. And thereupon we saw his works and praised him. So, unlike the children of the wicked, when we see God and the mastery of his creation, we give him praise. We exalt him. We magnify him because he is the one that made all these things to exist. Whereupon we saw his works and praised him and lauded before him on account of his works. For 7 great works did he create on the first day. And on the second day, he created the firmament, meaning the sky, in the midst of the waters. And the waters were divided on that day. Half of them went above, and half of them went down below the firmament that was in the midst over the face of the whole earth. And this was the only work God created on the second day. Meaning what? God created the spirit of the sky, the firmament, the entity that's able to separate space, the waters above the firmament, from the oceans and the rivers and the lakes that are below the sky. Firmament, sky. Firmament, heaven. Same interchangeable term. So you'll see where astronauts allegedly say they were able to go through the firmament. Guess what? That's crystallized water up there. You understand? It's hard water up there. You can't, there's no, you're gonna need something stronger than a suit to endure going up there. You understand? Let's read verse 5 now. Verse 5. And on the third day, he commanded the waters to pass from off the face of the whole earth unto one place, and the dry land to appear. And the waters did so as he commanded. And they retired from off the face of the earth unto one place outside of this firmament, and the dry land appeared. You see that? So he's talking about how he made creation and how the dry land appeared after he separated the waters above the firmament from the waters below the firmament. How he set up the oceans, the lakes, the rivers, and he said, all right, separate this section and let's have dry land to appear. We call it earth. Watch this. And on that day, he created for them all the seas according to their separate gathering places, and all the rivers, and the gathering of the waters in the mountains and on all the earth, and all the lakes, and of all the dew of the earth, and the seed which is sown, and all sprouting things, and fruit bearing trees, and trees of the wood, and the garden of Eden, in Eden, and all plants after their kind. So he started to set up what? The species of fruit bearing trees all over the world. You understand? Is anybody confused as to what we're reading so far? Is everybody on the same page? I want to make sure we are all on the same page and we understand what we're reading. Everybody get it? We got a couple of lights. All right, cool. I'm on the same page. Thank you, CJ. All praises to the Most High. All right. C-Star said yes. Good. Let's read verse 8 now. Jubilees chapter 2, verse 8. These 4 great works God created on the 3rd day. And on the 4th day, he created the sun and the moon and the stars and set them in the firmament of heaven, meaning set them in the sky, to give light upon all the earth, and to rule over the day and the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days, and for Sabbaths, and for months, and for feasts, and for years, and for Sabbaths of years, and for Jubilees, and for all seasons of years. And it divides the light from the darkness, and from prosperity, meaning crops growing, that all things may prosper, which shoot and grow on the earth. So the sun is established with its illustrious radiation. The frequency that comes from the sun shines on the earth. That in turn causes the plants and the fruit-bearing trees to shoot forth of the earth and to bring forth fruits, vegetables, crops. All right. I hope everybody understand what we're reading so far. Let's get another cross reference that talks about the sun, moon, and stars. Let's go to Sirach chapter 43. Let's go to Sirach chapter 43 and let's start at verse 1. Let's go to Sirach 43. Let's start at verse 1. Do me a favor, y'all. Tap the screen, get the likes up, share the room with at least 10 people, y'all. Let's go to Sirach chapter 43, verse 1. It says, the pride of the height, the clear firmament, meaning the crystalline sky, the beauty of heaven with his glorious show. Now he's going to describe to us the things that we see in the heavens. Watch this. The sun, when it appears, declaring at his rising a marvelous instrument, the work of the Most High. So you can literally understand that based on the movements and the circuit of the sun, we know that there's a creator that formed that. We know that there's an entity that has power and dominion on the earth to create this solar object. You understand? Watch this. Verse 2, the sun appears declaring his rising a marvelous instrument, the work of the Most High. At noon, it parcheth the country. So it's talking about the rise of the sun now to the time it gets midday in the sky, noontime, where it parches the earth. And who can abide the burning heat thereof? Notice what we just read here. It's not saying how we are moving around the sun. No, it's saying the sun rises. The sun is the one that's in motion. Let me help you understand that. Some folks have tried to deceive us using lientists. It is the sun that rises and the sun that sets. You never hear them say, earth rise, earth set. No, it's sunrise, sun set, right? Am I mistaken there? They told us in grade school, it's the earth that's moving, right? Then they would say earth rise, earth set. They don't say that. But you do hear them say sunrise and sunset. Once it rises, CJ said, wow. Once it gets to the top of the sky, you're like, hey, this is too hot. I can't stand it. This has brought me to a clear understanding of our earth. Exactly. It's the sun that rises and sets, not the moon rise. I'm sorry, not the earth rise and earth set. So the circuit that's moving around is the sun. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Because right now, for me, we're on the same planet Earth, but I'm currently in the continent of Africa, and it is 6:29 p.m., which means when I look out my window, the sun already has set in my location. For those of you that are in the States, you're about 6 hours behind me. So on the East Coast, it's 12 noon. But we're all on the same planet. So what's moving? Is it the earth or is it the sun? It's the sun. For some of y'all, it could be 12:30, 12:29 right now, or it can be 11:29 right now, or for some of y'all, it's 10:29. You understand? For those of you in the United States, you get what I'm saying. For me, where I'm at, the sun already set. It's already gone. It's already past. It's already starting to get dark over here. But for those of you, it's midday. So which one is moving? Is it the earth or is it the sun? Hello. Hello. I know somebody's brain just was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Watch this. Sirach 43 verse 4. A man blowing a furnace is in works of heat, but the sun burns the mountains 3 times more, breathing out fiery vapors. Fiery vapors. So what we call solar radiation, the Bible calls fiery vapors. Mind, there's so much that I have to relearn. Exactly. There's when you come into the truth of knowing who you are, what you learned in religion, what you learned in church, what you learned in the education system, throw it in the trash and start over. This is why Christ said, be born again. Now, spiritually speaking, that's going into us gaining immortality. But socially, on our level, we must change our mindset to think spiritually mindset to the ways of the Creator instead of the ways of man. Because men lie, women lie, scientists lie, doctors lie, politicians lie, even pastors lie. The only way we can get discernment is reading what the book says and applying what the book says. All right. Sirach chapter 43, verse 4. A man blows a furnace, is in works of heat, but the sun burns the mountains 3 times more, breathing a fiery vapor and sending forth bright beams to dim the eyes. Meaning what? It's not good for you to try to look directly into the sun because the sun has fiery vapors, what we call solar radiation, that can impact your eyes. Okay? That's why a lot of people wear sunglasses because they suffer from macular degeneration. A lot of people wear regular glasses, like my glasses got transistors in it. Because I know if I go directly and look outside, my eyes will start to hurt. I'll get a headache. You understand? Because the sun is that powerful. Okay. Verse 5. Great is the Lord that made it. Great is the Lord that made it, and at his commandment runs hastily. At his commandment runs hastily. So what is moving? Shalom to you. Hope you're doing all right. What is moving? The sun. At the commandment. Can somebody tell me what commandment it was that God created to make this entity move? What is it called? The sun, the moon, the stars, right? So what commandment was it? Let's read it again. Let's go to the text. Let's read it again. Jubilees Chapter 2, verse 9. And God appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth, for days, for Sabbaths, for months, for feasts, for years, for Sabbath of years, for jubilees, and for all seasons of the years. So, depending on the location of where the sun is, it can either be winter or it can be summer. It can either be fall or autumn, or it can be spring, depending on the position of where the sun is. The sun is what's moving, not the earth. Okay, I hope y'all get that. And it divided the light from the darkness for prosperity, that all things may prosper, which shoot and grow on the earth. These three kinds he made on the fourth day. Now, let's go back to Sirach 43. Let's talk about the moon now. So thank you for the crown. Much appreciated. Sirach 43, verse 6. It says, he made the moon also to serve in her seasons for a declaration of times and a sign of the world. From the moon is the sign of feast, a light, a light, a light that decreases in her perfection. The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining, shining, not dark, shining in the firmament of heaven. Y'all understand that? So when it's full and we see that light, that's when he said, let there be light. That's when it was new, when it was brand new. Sun, moon, stars, brand new, lights. Lights, keyword, lights. So when we celebrate our festivals, we don't celebrate it when the moon is dark. We celebrate it in light. Light, let there be light. Joyful occasion, light. Darkness, sadness. Darkness means judgment time. Whenever the Bible talks about the sun, moon, and stars being dark, it's never a good thing. We don't follow the Kabbalists and the Yiddish community that follow the dark moon and the crescent moon. No, 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 no. We follow the light. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Verse 9. The beauty of heaven, the glory of the stars, the glory of the stars, an ornament giving light in the highest places of the Lord, in the highest places. So the stars are higher than the sun, moon, and the moon. The sun and the moon are close relative to the earth. The stars are in the highest realms, higher, far higher in what they call the quote unquote galaxies or universes. Y'all understand that? So the stars are called a what? Ornament. An ornament, meaning it's a decoration. So the stars are a decoration of the night sky. I hope y'all get that. I hope y'all get that. All right. Verse 10. At the commandment of the Holy One, they will stand in their order and never faint in their watches, in their watches. I'm so glad I'm not crazy for thinking this to be true. You're not. There's nothing wrong with examining the world we live in and understanding the realm from the perspective of the divine. There's nothing wrong with that. You understand? Understanding the world from the perspective of the divine helps us get closer to the divine and appreciate the creator for what they do. It helps us understand Christ better. You understand? There's nothing wrong with it. Watch this. Verse 11. Look upon the rainbow and praise him that made it. Very beautiful it is in the brightness thereof. It compasseth the heaven about with a glorious circle, and the hands of the Most High have bended it. So that light that refracts from the water particles in the sky creates the illustrious colors that we see, the vivid greens and reds and purples and oranges and yellows that come from the rainbow. The Creator himself bended it to a circle. A circle. If you ever seen video of people taking pictures of rainbows from an airplane, you will notice that it's not a half circle like when we see it on Earth. It's a full circle that they see. But from our distance on Earth, we see it as a half a bow. But from the sky, full circle. Y'all can look it up. Y'all can look it up. Look up online airplane images of a rainbow, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's a full circle. So from what we're reading so far, we're understanding the brilliance of creation. We're understanding the sun. We're understanding the moon. We're understanding the stars. We're understanding the rainbow. All of these things were created on the fourth day. All right, let's go back to Jubilees chapter 1. Let's go back to Jubilees chapter 1. I'm sorry, chapter 2. And we're going to continue from verse 11. All right, continuing from verse 11, it says, "These three kinds he made on the fourth day. And on the fifth day, he created sea monsters in the depths of the waters. For these were the first things of flesh that were created by his hands. The fish, and everything that moves in the waters, and everything that flies, the birds and all their kind." So on the fifth day, the creator started making what we call whales, right? All the various marine biology that we see on the earth, under the earth, in the waters, okay? From large whales to dolphins to sharks to octopi to musks to different type of sea creatures, right? Now, think about this for a second, y'all. If you've never seen an anglerfish before and you first see it, you're going to think this is a sea monster because it's like a huge thing with a hook on its face with a light and it has like huge teeth pouring out of it. You would say this is a strange entity. Have y'all ever seen these anglerfish before? I never knew about anglerfish until the movie, what was it? I think it was Finding Nemo or something like that. I think it was Finding Nemo, right? Where it was like this huge fish with a little light bulb sticking in front of his head, right? And then it had huge teeth, and it's like, ew, this thing is disgusting. Who would eat that? Some people crazy out here. They'll eat that though. Not me. If it don't got fins or scales, I don't eat it. You're not gonna catch the Forefront Radio eating shrimp, crab, lobster. I call that slave food. I ain't eating that stuff. That's the scraps that they give people when they call it a delicacy now. But to me, nah, those are unclean. They nasty. You read about that in Leviticus chapter 11. Don't eat those stuff, y'all. Avoid it. It causes seasickness. The reason why your oceans and your rivers and your lakes is dirty in the Americas is because they overfish. You're not supposed to be eating catfish and all of that stuff. Those entities are the scavenger meat. They're made to clean the oceans and the lakes and the rivers. So you wonder why the rivers and lakes in New York and New Jersey and all of that is dirty as hell, is because they overfish that stuff. Okay, I hope y'all get that. Then after he made everything in the waters, he made everything that flies. Right, they're supposed to clean the water. He made everything that flies. So from the dove to the falcon to the hawks, right, to the pelicans and the swans and the flamingos, all of these various birds that you see that fly in the sky, and even bats, right? All of these entities were made from the creator on the fifth day. So that gives us now marine biology, right? All the aquatic life, and then all the entities that fly in the sky, in the celestial realm, all of them that fly in the firmament, right? So let's continue where we left off. It says, this is Jubilees chapter 2. We're now at verse 12. "And the sun rose above them to prosper them, and above everything that was on the earth, everything that shoots out of the earth, and all fruit-bearing trees, and all flesh. These three kinds he created on the fifth day. And on the sixth day he created all the animals of the earth, and all the cattle, and everything that moves on the earth." Everything that moves on the earth. "And after all this, he created man. And man and a woman created he them, and gave him dominion over all that is upon the earth, and in the seas, and over everything that flies, over beast, and over cattle, and over everything that moves on the earth, and over the whole earth, and over all this he gave him dominion. So we're reading now about the creation of Adam and Eva, and how man now has dominion over all creation. What are you talking about? We're reading hidden books that have not been taught to us. We're reading a book called Jubilees. The Book of Jubilees is found in the Ethiopian canon, the Ethiopian Bible. We're reading that text because a lot of people tell us not to read it. So we are reading that. Thank you for becoming a super fan, whoever just joined as a super fan. Somebody wants to come up as a guest. Hold on a second. Let me put my headphones on. One moment. Somebody wants to come up as a guest. Let me pause the music. Somebody wants to come up as a guest here. Mooney. I think someone named Mooney wanted to come up. Mooney, are you there? Does anybody see Mooney in the chat? Because I don't see him. I'm going to assume that the person left the room then. All right, so we'll go ahead and continue where we left off. All right, thank you for the Thunderbolt. Much appreciated. Thank you for the Thunderbolt. So let's continue where we left off. So we were reading Jubilees Chapter 2, and we were at verse 13 now. It says, "These three kinds he created on the fifth day, and on the sixth day he created all the animals of the earth and all cattle and everything that moves on the earth." So now, with that being said, let's go to another cross reference. Let's go to Second Esdras. Let's go to Second Esdras. Let's go to chapter 6. Second Esdras chapter 6. And let's read verse let's start at verse 47 and let's read down. Remember when we read earlier where it said that the creator had made sea monsters? There was something I forgot to read. So we're going to read that here in Second Esdras, okay? Second Esdras chapter 6, verse 47. "Upon the fifth day thou settest unto the seventh part, where the waters were gathered, that it should bring forth living creatures, fowls, and fishes. And so it came to pass. For the dumb water," meaning the quiet water, "and without life brought forth living things, at the commandment of God, that all people might praise thy wondrous works." So the waters did not have anything in it. God spake, and out of the water entities started to form. Now we're going to read about some of those entities. Second Esdras chapter 6, verse 49. "Then didst thou ordain two living creatures, the one thou callest Enoch, and the other Leviathan." In some translations, instead of Enoch, it says Bohemoth. So watch this. It says two living creatures, the one callest thou Enoch, the other Leviathan. So there's a sea creature and there's a land creature that God made. Watch this. "And did separate the one from the other. For the seventh part, namely, where the water was gathered together, might not hold them both. Unto Enoch thou gavest one part, which was dried up the third day," meaning land, "that he should dwell in the same part, wherein are 1,000 hills. But unto Leviathan thou gavest the seventh part, namely the moist," meaning the oceans, the waters, "and hast kept him to be devoured of him of whom thou wilt and when. So this was the part that I had missed when I was telling you that when you read in Jubilees about the two great monsters, one was called Behemoth or Enoch, the other was called Leviathan. Everybody with me so far? Everybody with me so far? Is anybody confused? Everybody with me so far? Yes. Okay, cool. So I just want to make sure I covered that. Upon the sixth day, thou gavest commandment unto the earth, that before thee it should bring forth beast, cattle, and creeping things. Now notice this now. Notice as it's about to talk about the sixth day, something very significant that we should know about. Watch this. Verse 54. And after these Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. Now, this is why we covered yesterday the class called Chosen Ones. God made all of this creation. He made Adam. And although he made Adam, he also made the people whom he has chosen. That's you and I. The people that God has chosen are the princes that have power with God and man. Just like Jacob's name was changed to Israel, Yasharallah, right? We are changed now from being the simple creation that he made to princes that have power with God and man. Meaning what? He's going to impart unto us immortality. But right now, we're living like men on the earth. Watch this. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all. And the people also, whom thou hast chosen, meaning God handpicked us. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. Meaning what? The world was made for us. The world was made for you. Watch this. It says, all this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. As for the other people, which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and as likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falls from a vessel. And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to be lords over us and to devour us. But we, thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover, are given into their hands. If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? How long shall this endure? So now, although the Creator gave us dominion on the earth, right now we're not in rulership. Who's in rulership right now? The Gentiles, the other nations. So that's why we read yesterday the scripture that said, Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. When Christ says that he is the King of kings, who are the of kings? We are. The disciples, the 144,000, the 24 elders, right? That you read about in the scriptures. We're going to be placed in positions of power in the new heavens and the new earth. This society that we live in right now, this world stage that we live in, it's going to come and go. The next kingdom that's going to reign is the kingdom of Christ. If everybody understand that, put a 144 in the chat. Scripture, please, and thank you. We just read 2nd Ezra chapter 6 from verse 47 down to 59. All right, we got 144 in the building. Good, excellent. Let's go back to Jubilees. Jubilees chapter 2 verse 17. We got 144s in the building, all praises. Jubilees chapter 2 verse 17, it says, and he gave us a great sign, a great sign, a great sign. Now imagine you driving down the road, right? How would you know the appropriate exit to get off on the exit ramp? You need a sign, right? Watch this. He gave us a great sign, the Sabbath day, that we should work 6 days, but keep Sabbath on the 7th day from all work. So on Sabbath, we don't work. We don't buy and sell on the Sabbath. We don't cook on the Sabbath, right? We shouldn't be chefing on the grill on the Sabbath. We shouldn't be at the Macy's Day sale or the football game. We shouldn't be at the movie theaters. We shouldn't be playing Xbox. We should be focused and meditating on the word of God every time Sabbath comes around. It is a sign. It is a sign. It is a sign between us and the Creator, meaning we acknowledge the Creator as who He is. Watch this. And all the angels of the presence, not just Moses, and all the angels of sanctification, not just Moses, these two great classes, he have bidden us to keep the Sabbath with him in heaven, and on earth. Now, the Christian pastor will tell you the Sabbath is only for the Jews. That's incorrect. The angels of heaven are celebrating the Sabbath. My brother, accept my request. Sure. Welcome to the Forefront Radio. What's your question or comment? Welcome to the Forefront Radio. What's your question or comment?
Not much. I'm just listening to you. I'm listening to what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Do you have a question pertaining to the information we're presenting right now?
Just repeat that.
I was asking, do you have a question pertaining to what we're covering so far?
Sorry, there's a delay in communication.
Were you able to hear my statement?
Yeah, just repeat it.
Yes, I was asking, what's your question or comment pertaining to what we're presenting right now? Is it Wessel or Wessel?
Vessel.
Wessel, do you have a question pertaining to the class so far?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Sorry, there's a disturbance here.
Okay, no problem. Could you tell me what your question is, please? Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, I can. So, what's your opinion about Christianity?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Now, when you ask that question, I want to get a better understanding of your question. So could you give me some clarifying caveats of what is your reasoning behind that question?
Yeah, so what I'm wondering is Christ is all loving, all caring, but sometimes I feel that a lot of pastors and a lot of people in this world are not preaching what God is saying. So can you clarify that, brother?
Sure. Thank you for asking that question. So my viewpoint on modern religion today is based on what we read in the scriptures. And I'll give an example of that real quick, and then we'll get back to the class. Let's go to First Timothy. Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 4, and let's read Christianity in the Bible in its modern form today. Okay. Do you have a Bible in front of you? Preferably
No,
King James
I'm going to
version.
listen to you.
You're going to listen? Okay.
I've got
First,
King James, but
you got a different version? Okay, awesome.
Yes.
1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1, it says, "Now the Spirit speaks expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith. Some shall depart from the faith. Now, we're going to pause right there for a second, and we're going to look up
Yes.
what is the faith according to the scriptures, okay? Let's go to Revelation chapter 14. Revelation chapter 14, let's read verse 12. Revelation chapter 14, verse 12. Revelation chapter 14, verse 12 says, "Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God, keep the commandments of God, and the faith of Jesus." So, the faith of Jesus was keeping the commandments of God. Remember when Jesus was in the mountain and he was fasting for 40 days and
Yes.
40 nights, that the devil came and tempted him to cause him to
Devil
sin.
deceived him.
Right.
Yes.
The way he was able to fight against it was by quoting scriptures. He was quoting various scriptures like Deuteronomy and Exodus and Leviticus to fight against the temptation of sin. Okay. So that is where our faith is built on. The same obedience that Christ had. So now let's go back. Now the question is, does modern Christianity follow those tenets today? The answer is no, and we're going to find out why. Let's go to First Timothy.
I agree.
Let's go back to First Timothy chapter 4, and let's read verse 1 again. It says, "Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter time some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils." Doctrines of devils. So now, in order to understand what the doctrine of devils are, we have to understand what the doctrine of God is, because there's a difference. God has a doctrine, and whatever God's doctrine is, the devil's doctrine will be the opposite of what God says. So we're going to hold that scripture.
Okay.
We're going to go to Proverbs chapter 4 to find out what is God's doctrine. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 2. It says, "For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not my law, my law." Now, the Bible is called the Book of the Law. So the entire writings from Moses, from Isaiah, from Solomon, from the book of Psalms, all of these texts that we're reading is called the Book of the Law. So if good doctrine is the Bible, the doctrines of devils would be opposite of the Bible. Anything that's not biblical. Now, let's go back. So God says, "Do not forsake my law," meaning don't forsake my Bible. Watch this. Let's go back. This is to answer your question now about Christianity. 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1. "Now the Spirit speaks expressly that some in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils." So the doctrines of devils are any teachings that go against the Bible, any teachings that oppose the Bible, its moral values, its rules, its regulations, its commandments, its precepts, anything that contradicts what the Bible says, God is calling that the doctrines of devils. Now, it's going to give you an example of it while we read on. Watch this. "Speaking lies in hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron, forbidding to marry." Forbidding to marry. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. What religion do we know of on the earth that tells its priests, its nuns, its monks not to get married?
Can you hear me?
Catholicism, correct. Catholicism. So, the initiation of the apostasy started with Catholicism. They forbid their priest, they forbid their nuns from marriage. The reason why Modern churches have a problem with, how can I place this? PDF files. They have a problem with illicit activity and social misconduct. So immorality, right, is because they forbid their priest
My
from
brother,
marriage. Does that make sense?
my brother, my brother,
Yes,
can
go
I
ahead.
ask something?
Sure, go ahead.
If we are called, yes, sorry. So here's another question I have. If we are called one into Christ, and that Christ is one, why do we differ? Why are we so different in our religion? Why do the Muslims and every other cult, well, let's say every other religion, sorry for my, how can I say, sorry, I'm Afrikaans, so I'm trying to speak English. But why is it acceptable that our Christianity has so many, I'm trying to think what the English word is now. Oh, sorry.
Denominations.
Um, yes, that's the right word, sir. So why are we so different? And we got so many. I mean, the last week in South Africa, we had people saying and prophesying that God is coming, eh? And there's such a scary, there's such a fear put into the hearts of Christians. But what I do know is that God is love.
Yeah, we're reading about that right now. We're literally reading the beginning stages of modern Christianity that started first with Catholicism and then transitioned into other
Acts,
forms
Acts
of
chapter. Go
denominations.
back. Go back to Acts chapter 1.
Did we finish answering your
Go
first
back to
question
Acts
first before
chapter
we
1.
go to another scripture?
Sir, yes. But please
We
just go
we did
to
answer
Acts
your
chapter
question.
1.
Okay. What's your question pertaining to Acts chapter 1?
Just read Acts chapter 1, verse 12.
Okay, give me 1 second, y'all. My wife continues to keep knocking on my door, so give me 1 second while I address my wife. One moment, please. Give me a second. I'll be back in
No
just a
problem.
moment.
No problem, sir. Again, sorry, it was Acts chapter 12. Forgive me. Klaratjie. Clara.
Come here. I have an idea for both of you. Sissy, you quickly, I want to do something. Lay there quickly. Go this way, please. Go this way.
I'm sorry, y'all. We're gonna have to restart the live at another time, y'all. We're gonna have to reconvene another moment, okay? So
Okay,
thank you
no
for your
problem.
question, Warzel.
No problem.
I'm gonna come back on live. If you
No,
could
it's not
follow me.
Wrestle, it's Vessel.
I'm
Yes, I
sorry.
will. I will. Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
if you could go ahead and follow me, and then the next time we have questions, we'll restart the live and then have a discussion on what you want to ask about, okay?
All right.
But I'll return back on live in a moment,
Appreciate
y'all.
it. Okay,
Thank you
love
so
you in
much.
Christ, eh?